This is What a Week.
What a Week. Politricks.
Eta, welcome to another episode of WAW What a Week, hashtag Politricks with Fresh and Botsang. Brazil bleeds, Tanzania boils, and New York City breaks new ground with its first Muslim immigrant mayor. Back home, Makate finally cashes in. Hlophe gets suspended. Brian Mogotsi survives what looks like an assassination attempt. It's politics, power, and pure drama. Wow, what a week. Hashtag Politricks.
Yes, Fresh, good morning, and morning to the viewers, followers, subscribers.
Before we jump into our menu,
Yes, sir.
I see the DA trying to take credit for something you started when you were still there by the Department of Transport at Cross Border.
Yes.
Let's talk about it quickly.
Yeah, well, it has been a great week. It's a good feeling,
Yes.
actually, to see breaking news that the National Assembly has finally approved what we call a one-stop border post bill. It felt good. Actually, the gentleman who is now the chief director for corridors at the Department of Transport, I was technically working with him and reporting to him being an agency, sent me a message yesterday and he said, proud moments. That bill, I see your footprints and handprints and fingerprints all over the bill.
Because you traveled the entire country going to every port.
Yes.
As part of research about this one-stop border post.
Yes, that's what we first did domestically.
Yes.
To drive to all land ports and seaports and airports to visit them to see what facilities do we need, what do we need to have, where can we start. And then after that, we traveled. I was actually seconded by the agency Cross Border into the border formation of the Border Management Authority. So we moved with that thing into the formation of the BMA. So they were running parallel, the formation of the BMA and developing the policy for the one-stop border post. Guess what? The first country in SADC countries to have a one-stop border post is the Kuzungula bridge between Botswana and Zambia.
Yes.
There was
Botswana, Zambia, I think also Angola, no?
After that, it will go into Angola. But that bridge, it was supposed to be Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, but Zimbabwe withdrew at the last moment.
Yeah, they didn't participate, yes.
Yes, they didn't participate. That's one model we followed.
Yes.
And then the U.S. and Mexico border, U.S. and Canada border. So, we I did the whole world round trip to can inform myself with the team. We were led by Mr. Elroy Africa as the project manager. But yeah, it took almost 6 to 7 years to have this bill. Actually, we presented it to introduce it to the National Council of Province and Parliament. I think I stopped working in 2022, end of 2020. I think that's around 2021, just after lockdown.
Yes. And
it only went through now.
Okay, so in very simple English, what does a one-stop border post look like?
It's okay. It's simple. There's two models you can have. A quick one and a simple one is normally when you go to, let me use the land border as an example. You will stop if you are traveling from South Africa to Zimbabwe at Beit Bridge. You will stop at the South African offices. You will go through police, customs, immigration, and whoever that you go through. Then you drive or you walk, and then you go to the Zimbabwean police, and then you go through the same. Now, so you are stopping twice.
Sure.
Now we are sitting in a situation where you will stop only once. So the two countries are sitting in one building, operating with one system.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's such an amazing experience. Then you save time and there's coordination. So it's going to reduce time, the clogging at borders, like whether it's trucks or buses.
Yes.
And in the border between Tanzania and Kenya, actually they even do it more beautifully.
Yes.
The immigration official of Tanzania is sitting next to each other. Same window. It's a one-window system. They are sitting next to each other. The immigration official of Tanzania and the immigration official of Kenya, they are sitting together.
So I say goodbye to you, and then the guy next to me says welcome.
So welcome, yes. And they're sitting right next to each other. In some one desk. And also there are other elements that comes in. For example, with truckers of vehicle, if it's an unladen vehicle, a South African truck returning home and empty, the question is, why should it be stopped? Where is departing?
Yes.
It will go through, it will just be checked the way it's entering South Africa, that it's truly, and not loaded, it's empty, then it goes through. So it saves time, there's more efficiency. I think it will also aid in the essence of, corruption.
Sure.
Because now there's a man next to you, next to you who's from another country. So if you are corrupt and you want to let people illegally in, you must have connived with your colleague from another country.
Sure.
So it's going to reduce the element of human interference in the movement of people and goods.
But the train is never late. A lot of victories that DA ministers in the GNU often claim are balls that were already in play.
Look, yes, and I saw the articles. It's DA is happy. DA issued a statement to say the minister has moved this thing and all that. No, it's the parliamentary process.
Yes.
It's the National Assembly process. It was already in there. Like I said, we deposited, we were delayed by actually lockdown, the COVID lockdown. If it wasn't of COVID lockdown, the plan was to have OSBP policy. It was ready by 2019, and it could have been approved at the time because we needed the policy in order to implement it physically. And in South Africa, the two borders that we have, which can accommodate the one-stop border post, is the border in Mozambique with the Bombo border post.
Yes.
The facility was designed that way. It was just never used that way because we didn't have the policy.
Sure.
Now we have it. The next one is between Botswana and South Africa.
Yes.
The new structure, actually, apparently it's one of the best designed borders in the world. So Botswana just didn't come to the party, but there were engagements to say that the facility is there. So we do have at least two facilities in our country that the OSBP can be implemented.
I know that I think it's between the US and Mexico that you can do the one-stop border interaction from your car.
Yes, you don't even get out of the car.
Yes.
We actually had to drive through that border.
Yes.
To test how does it work. You stay in the car. You don't go. Every window where you park. It's like the cubics for what you call this toll gates. They operate from such.
That's incredible.
It's very, very incredible.
So how does it feel seeing a baby you were part of creating, about to walk?
It felt so good because, like I said, I know that bill like the palm of my hand.
Yes.
And went on the lawyers who worked on this, the team from Home Affairs and other government departments, because it was well researched and it was a very great team that I worked with to arrive at that point. It's so funny that people at work, when it came, my phone was beeping. It's like when the BMA was launched 3 years back.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Oh, shame, you are watching this on TV." I'm like, guys, I'll be back.
Sure.
But it's good. I like success. I like to achieve, especially when I'm being given tasks.
Sure.
It feels good to see the success.
And he will be back.
Yes,
anyway, in fact, speaking of he will be back, we're going to take you back to where you once served, representing the country.
Yes,
let's go to Brazil. What on earth is happening there? There's chaos, there's violence.
You remember last week when we wrapped up the show because of time, we said we'll start with it this week. Look, it's actually good that we couldn't talk wholly about it last week. Because there's more developments that happened. It's becoming clearer and clearer what caused it. And why the situation that happened in Rio is interest of me to send South Africa. It's because what is happening with the Madlanga Commission? The allegations of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi regarding the drug cartels, because he was very specific, drug cartels.
Yes.
And conniving or corrupting senior police officials. It's exactly what happened to Rio years back. And the situation in Rio de Janeiro, which is a big city and a popular city of Brazil, is that there are so many drug cartels fresh. Every that person is involved in drug dealing directly or indirectly. And they feed families. They own compounds. They own favelas. Like they own areas where policemen can't even go in because the drug cartels, they own them. And Rio or Brazil works as the world distribution center of narcotics that comes mainly from other Latin American countries like Colombia. So they end up in Rio for distribution by sea. And that's why people always get surprised. Why are drugs coming through the Durban port? Because it's by sea from Latin America. The ships, this is how it's affecting us as a country. as South Africa. Now, what happened last week in Brazil was the police, and you remember Brazil is a federal state.
Yes.
So Rio has a governor, and they've got police from Rio as a state. The police decided to go, and the intention of the plan or the story was to go and capture the king drug lord of Brazil. And hell broke loose. 119 people were killed, 4 of which were policemen. But the story that came out after, from my sources in Brazil was that actually, when the police were cornered and they called for backup, then they started shooting randomly at even innocent civilians. It was no longer them fighting drug dealers. And the firepower of the drug cartels and drug dealers were better than that of the police. Because it was normal, a civilian police. And this happens without the President Lula. Now, this is where politics come in. Apparently, this whole thing, it is also a comeback of Bolsonaro's, arrest and assassination and to paint the government of Lula very bad. To say under him, civilians are being murdered because the United Nations has actually activated their human rights, activists in Brazil after this happened. And civilians were murdered, and they said they were shot like point blank, some at the back, and they were like with an execution style. But it demonstrates the danger of politicians like governor, head of police, being in backs of drug cartels, and that's what actually transpired there because they took it upon themselves to take them out. But if this man that they wanted to go and capture has been a drug lord there for over 30 years, you can imagine that the governors have changed. The leadership of police have changed. Probably the new ones under the new administration of Lula or the second administration of Lula are saying, we are not your friends, we're going to take you out. That's the impression they created. The big mistake they did was they did not inform the central government.
Ah, yes.
That's true. The federal police were not involved because as Brazil has the federal police who are better armed, better trained, and specialized squad. But it's calm at the moment, and the Lula administration is blaming actually the opponents to say it's them because the governor took instruction or is a governor from the opponent's party, from the previous government. So they decided to act on this in order to can make the government look back. And probably they did not expect this to happen. They did not expect that there will be such retaliation. I wonder why not. Because let me tell you a very scary story. Once when I was in Rio shopping, the police got involved fighting with the drug cartels. We're locked up in a mall. Machine guns and cannons were flying outside. We had to be locked up in a mall, police retreating until the army was sent in to rescue us. Yeah. That's how dangerous this whole thing is. And the biggest problem there is the favelas, the what we call squatter camps or shacks in South Africa. There's no normal living and roads there. It's a living area that was created and is owned and is controlled by drug cartels. Because that's easy there to distribute drugs when there's no order. So now imagine arms that are in those. It's the same as deep slot. Deep slot is just one part of. Imagine there's many deep slots around Joburg and something, and they are neighboring each other. It's very dangerous, and for me, it's an eye opener of police must never allow to be corrupted and politicians by the drug cartels because it may endanger the society. Absolutely.
Yeah. While we are talking chaos, Tanzania had elections.
Yes.
And then there were riots. The AU are saying that the election failed to comply with democratic standards, but there's been an inauguration.
Yes.
And Tanzanian youth are not happy.
Well, I'm actually very disappointed with the president of Tanzania. We've been advocating for women are better leaders.
Yes.
And she had brought a bit of stability in Tanzania, but to go to an extent, if you recall what happened before the elections actually, she was basically the sole person on the ballot paper. She arrested all members of all other oppositions.
Yeah.
Understand? And
so you're gonna race. So you're gonna handcuff me and then race against me.
Exactly. How do I do that? But also there was a lot of police intimidation towards rallies and lobbying and preparing for elections of other parties. These elections were not fair at all.
Sure.
to an extent that when youth, the Generation Z, stood up and said, not in our name, not in our lifetime, this is not going to happen. Something very serious that actually, for me, it was nearly a military coup. The general of the Air Force issued a statement to say they are not going to shoot the youth, they are not going to kill their people. He's been said by a code of conduct that he has to protect the nation, and the nation is not only the head of state, is the youth of Tanzania. For it was a bit disturbing and very dangerous for that to happen, especially at this time in that part of the world. The East Africa is very volatile due to the situation in Somalia and South Sudan.
And amidst all of that, Tanzania has always been seen as this island of peace within that East African.
In East Africa, it has actually been the most peaceful part of East Africa.
Yeah.
And manage, and I think this is going to also disturb their tourism. If you look at, I only learned last week actually when I was following this story, how they are Zanzibar, the autonomous of Zanzibar works. They have elections at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a part of the constitution. So the mainland and the island, but the island has its own administration.
Yes.
A president and all that. Then they must have one or two members of parliament from the island who is representing the island in the mainland parliament. So that is the arrangement of how Zanzibar operates. And they get some funding from the mainland to some extent as well. But imagine if the mainland becomes unstable and the Zanzibar is dependent heavily on tourism, how it will impact the lives of the people in the island, because who will want to travel? Although you have direct flights to Zanzibar, even from South Africa, but it will impact, because once it becomes volatile, people will start pulling backwards. I don't understand why the president, if she is fair and just, why would she want to continue with the inauguration when the elections were rejected by AU, by the people? And again, another thing that is disturbing me is, you remember once explained how East Africa it's having a parliament.
Yes.
With the 6 member states. Why are they silent on this? And silent meaning, I'm talking about Rwanda and other countries, the Kenya, Rwanda, and that are neighboring and are belonging to the East African community. They should have actually lambasted Tanzania for these unfair elections as the regional body.
Sure.
And I haven't seen any statement from them. They just condemned the violence and the arrest of people. But now that she's going forward to be inaugurated as the president again, I think they should come with a statement. But you know what I think they're fearing? He's going to tell Kagame and Museveni, you're the last people to tell me that there's no democracy in Tanzania, because you have been sitting there sole presidents forever. So again, we've been breeding problem, and now African leaders are accustomed to this behavior. And that it came from a leader who's a female president. I'm very disappointed.
Absolutely. You know, the stark contrast, looking at what's happening in Tanzania and the riots and the violence and everything else. I was in Zanzibar January on holiday with the kids.
Yes.
And I was told by one of the tour operators that Zanzibar is probably one of the safest places on the planet to go on holiday.
Really?
And you see it with how people walk around freely. We went to some bar that's in an area that is not, it's not an opulent area.
Okay.
It's like a humble abodes.
Yeah.
But people are walking around freely. They're on their phones. Women are on their phones. There's no one trying to rob you. And it was mind blowing that people can exist like that. Because where I am from, especially if you're a woman, there are areas you don't go to. Areas where you don't take out your phone.
Yeah.
But in Zanzibar, it's just everyone is minding their own business. And you can ask for help. You'll get the help. And just people keep moving with it.
Maybe it's the culture.
Even within where areas you can see there's a little bit of poverty.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of poverty. But people feel safe.
But I've also learned that in Zanzibar, there's a great influence of the Arab communities. Like, for example, it looks like Omar has some business to deal.
Yeah.
The sheikhs of two of the Arab countries have some business to do with Zanzibar. So there's an influence of that. And you know how Arab people feel about crime and all those things. So it could be the reason.
Yeah.
And the influence that comes from the Middle East.
Sure. Let's bring it back to South Africa.
Yes, sir.
Bring it back home. Quite a lot happening in the courts. Makate versus Vodacom settling. Gauteng High Court rules against Operation Dudula, aka assassin suspects being extradited. Judge President John Hlophe suspended from the MK party. Brian Mogotsi, assassination attempt. All of that in the last couple of days.
In this country. Here we are busy. Look.
Makate versus Vodacom.
Makate
Let's start.
Vodacom, finally. Well, that's what we can say. We will know on the 10th of when the Vodacom figures are publicized, because it's time for them to publicize how much is the actual figure. But there's been reports that came out from one of the media houses that have been following the story based check to say it's about 750 million settlement that he has reached.
750 bar is reasonable.
I think so.
Especially given that initially he was offered just under 50 million
46
on some take and go.
Yes.
And he held the fort.
Yeah.
Others feel he should have held out for more than that.
Nah, it's not worth it fresh. Your health, and when are you going to live and enjoy that money?
Yeah.
And I always say anything that disturbs my health, I don't want it. But he fought 21 years fighting a giant like a Vodacom, a global giant. Remember, Vodacom is part of the Vodafone. And 750 M, it's a whole lot of money. And I think it was time that he should settle. And I'm glad that he has accepted and he settled. They finally, reached an out-of-court settlement after 21 years of fighting. But I think justice has been served in a sense that whoever was backing Mr. Makate, whether it was lawyers, whether it was rivals of Vodacom or what, they did a good job, because he needed that kind of support.
Absolutely.
To can stand up against this giant. And thumbs up, now we are beyond this case. Unless between today as a Saturday and Monday, Vodacom changes their mind. But if they've informed the courts...
I don't think they do, because also, what's the price of the bad press that says you are a corporate bully? That says, why are you still fighting this one man when you could just settle and keep it moving?
Reputational damage. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can't put a price on that.
Yes.
And the perceptions of your bullying your ex-staffer when you could just pay him what is due to him and keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, whilst we are at that court, then there was a judgment in the Joburg High Court against the conduct of Operation Dudula. I saw, it's so funny, the EFF welcomed the judgment, Action SA condemned the judgment. And for me, my understanding is the court is simply saying there's a law in this country.
Yes.
Do not break the law. Go and change the law. We have spoken about this many times. So Operation Dudula, they actually had a press conference yesterday, and they have to go back to the drawing board, because their actions have been illegal. Whether people are emotional, are angry, they are saying our constitution is nonsense, that's not the issue. The issue is there's a law in the country. We don't break the law to do the right thing.
So in a nutshell, for those that have missed it, Operation Dudula against lawlessness, as it were, and they're saying that if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you should not have access to free healthcare, you should not have access to
Free
basic education.
Yes.
But the Constitution says all that live in this country should be helped.
Whether you are legal
sick,
or illegal.
whether you're sick or not, whether you're legal or not legal.
Illegal, yes.
Is the long and the short of it.
That's the long and the short of it.
And our argument over the last 2.5 years on this podcast has always been that a lot of things that people complain about are in this beautiful Constitution.
Exactly.
That says it's unconstitutional for you to single people out simply because they don't have legal papers.
Yes.
And if you don't like it, then you need to petition your parliament and your parliamentarians to change that about the Constitution.
Exactly. It's simple as that. We've been talking about it for 2 years. It's the same as the Road Freight Association, Road Accident Fund, RAF.
Yes.
We're the only country on earth, South Africa, that a foreigner comes here, if you get involved in an accident, any foreigner,
Yes.
you benefit and you can claim from road accident fund.
And it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So it's us, and this is what we've been, promoting to say, political parties and citizens of this country must encourage the lawmakers to change our laws in order for us to can run the country for the benefit primarily of the citizens.
And, as much as Action SA might have issues with the High Court ruling against Operation Dudula, I mean, it's a conversation we had with Herman Mashaba,
Yes.
president of Action SA,
Yes.
that unfortunately, when the founding fathers of modern day South Africa said South Africa belongs to all who live in it, there was no anticipation of there'd be an influx.
There'll be an influx, yeah.
It was literally about we are black, but we get the short end of the stick.
Oh, yes.
And that a majority of the benefits of the blood, sweat, and toil of South Africans is of benefit to a select minority.
Another thing that Action SA, if my memory serves me well, is
Yeah.
doing correct with this thing. They are not going on the street and stopping people,
Yes.
doing illegal actions.
Sure.
They've taken this matter to Parliament as
Yeah.
a proposal to say, can we amend our rules and regulations and the handling of immigrants in the country? And I think they are using the right platform. Whether they will win there or not is another story. But taking a matter and tabling it in Parliament
Sure.
is the right thing to do.
And I don't think it's a tall ask to say, like with any other country on this planet, if you're going to visit a country, make sure that you can afford your own health
Medical
care.
insurance, yes.
Make sure that if you're going to be in an accident, you're able to look after yourself. It doesn't make sense that the Road Accident Fund must now spend millions looking after people. When no other country does that.
Yes, and the millions that we don't have.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, yeah.
So it makes sense what Action SA are saying.
Yes.
But you can't be lawless in trying to fix that which Home Affairs and border control should be fixing.
Should be fixing, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and the last ones in court, there's an easy one. Finally, the suspects of the assassination of the musician, a.k.a. They've abandoned their appeal at Eswatini High Court.
Yes.
To be extradited. When they abandoned, the acting prime minister this past week signed off the extradition, and the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development has announced that they will be extradited to South Africa. And I liked what Minister Kubai, spokesperson, has said. He said, and this time around, they will make sure the handling over is done properly to the Hawks or to South African police services.
Because you can't have legal loopholes in an extradition.
Yes. I was very impressed when they do that. And this happens at the back of the Constitutional Court. Our contract this past week is judgment reserved. There was a case before the court that it looks like the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is overstepping in extradition issues. It's supposed to be the NPA, and the statement that was read in court was that the National Prosecuting Authority is the only entity of government that decides whether to prosecute or not. You understand? It may be an entity of justice, but the entity must decide, are we going to prosecute Mr. X? You know what informed that case?
Yes.
It was due to the case of the lady who was extradited from the USA. From Free State. Do you remember the lady, Kashule's XP?
Yes.
In that case, somebody took it to the Constitutional Court to challenge the constitutionality of the lower court, saying the NPA did not pronounce on prosecuting the document. It became the Department itself of Justice.
Yes.
So we are waiting for judgment, but the AKA FOPs, alleged assassinators will be coming to South Africa around the 10th, the 11th of November, and then they can face prosecution and be charged, and hopefully it will lead us somewhere as a country. So there's been those progresses in courts.
And remember when Morwadi Cholota was extradited from the US?
Yes.
You called it.
Yes.
You called it that it was not handled accordingly.
Look what it took, her humiliation, the way it was done, and the promises she was told to say, if you don't cooperate, we'll extradite you. That's not a proper extradition.
Yes.
Understand? So, and I said it before she even came into the country to say, this case will not fly, not because the courts are wrong, but because we don't follow process, so we do not do things as prescribed.
Sure.
And all those things. So look at her, but she was humiliated, handcuffed in front of the police at the airport, being driven from OR Tambo in Joburg to Free State, you know, in those speedy govs. And imagine if she turns around and sues the state now. But the Concord decision is going to have very, very serious implications on how we have been handling extraditions and all that. But you know what, Fresh, what I also think, South Africa has not many cases and experience of extraditions that are of criminal nature. Maybe it's civil nature and all that. We don't have a lot of those cases.
Yeah.
We look at how we also handled the case of when it was the lady who killed, the gentleman who killed the wife in South Africa from England. Do you remember that case, that big called him with a nasty name? Look at how we also messed up that case itself, and that man walked free.
Yes.
After coming here on holiday and arranged for the assassination of his wife. But I think we have learned from these few cases in the last few years that handling extraditions as well as, what is the other one, deportations and all that, we must learn how to do that as a country. Deportations, I think we've mastered it because we deport so many people, every month to the neighboring countries. But extradition, I think we should not get excited. We should let the prosecuting authority and DERCO advise the Department of Justice properly in doing this thing.
So basically, there is a fine line between extradition and kidnapping, is what you're saying.
Or is it kidnapping, or what do they call the other one?
Or being trafficked back then.
Abduction.
An abduction.
Yes, abduction. There's a very fine line.
Let's talk Judge President John Hlophe suspended from the MK party. Because already there are people who are trying to draw a link between Tony Yengeni leaving the ANC to become second deputy president of the MK party, and all of a sudden, Ntate John Hlophe being suspended. He's the deputy president.
He's the first deputy president.
Yes.
And
was there always a second deputy president?
No, there wasn't. That post was created.
So a second deputy was created.
It was created solely when Tony Yengeni came in. We spoke about it last.
So what? Was it a case of we don't know where to slot him in? So let's create a...
Look, now that on Radio 938, we spoke about it, and I had to apply my mind on Thursday. When I had to apply my mind and said, Fresh maybe has something. So when I arrived this morning, Trevor was saying, hi, man, Dr. Hlophe, he could have seen this coming.
Yes.
Because of the good relationship that President Zuma has with Mr. Yengeni.
Yeah, they're tighter than him.
Tighter than him, and yes. But other people, especially on social media, they were saying it's not fair because Judge Hlophe has been very loyal. And if you remember, part of his impeachment from being the Judge President of the Western Cape, it was also technically because of the allegations of his loyalty
to Zuma,
to President Zuma,
and asking other justices to
intervene or to swipe. Yes. So people see it as a backstabbing on President Hlophe. But again, things of controversy is President Zuma's old style. They happen at night while we were just about to sleep. But then suddenly there's letters flying up and down, left and right, and suddenly, Mr. Van Royen, is it Van Royen? Yes. Gets caught up into this whole thing. The other time yesterday, when President Zuma was the president, he became a finance minister for over the weekend, and now he was elected or chosen by Dr. Hlophe to be the chief whip, to replace Mekolin Makubele as a chief whip. That came as a surprise. But you see, what President Zuma's statement is saying, the president of MKP is saying, is that Dr. Hlophe acted outside the collective practice of the Umkhonto as a party. And normally they must what do you call it? They must consult. There must be consultation. And I've got a challenge with that, Fresh, because how do I put it? What powers? Dr. Hlophe is the head of the opposition party. Umkhonto is the official opposition in parliament.
Yes.
The chief whip is part of the team he is leading on behalf of the organization. And it looks like to me he was not given those powers. So in order for him to exercise the powers of the leader of the opposition party, he must always consult with headquarters.
Yes.
Because Mr. Zuma is not in parliament. And I have a problem with that. If that's the practice, then there's a problem, because you are actually restraining him from doing his duties.
Sure.
But if the alignment is, yeah, he can do that, but he must consult. And this happened at the back of President Zuma being out of the country. That's another challenge.
Yeah, because he's accused of allegations of misconduct, harassment, and dishonesty. Dr. Hlophe.
Dr. Hlophe, yes. But I don't think they detailed what harassment and all. We still have to wait and see what are the details of this. The other thing that actually I don't think it's reversible, that's nasty, that happened, is on the night he was about to inform and he was tipped that he's going to be placed on suspension. There's a purported text that he sent to the presidential aide to say, please inform President Zuma not to suspend me, but to cancel my membership of Umkhonto and remove me as the member of parliament. And I said, but now,
is that fair? Is that fair of him? Do we understand why he would do that and say that?
I think he and this is me applying my mind. I think one, he would rather live than be humiliated through the, what you call it,
a kangaroo court.
A committee court or whatever.
Yes.
That's one. Two, being one of the most senior judges in South Africa, there's nobody with legal brains in controversies who will actually challenge. Imagine if he goes and he appoints advocate Dalimpofu to representing in that what do you call it, in that disciplinary hearing, or Umkhonto goes and appoint Dalimpofu to lead evidence against Dr. Hlophe. So it will be very humiliating. But the second thing that I think is doing this, it's probably he read the room. That he woke up and he realized that he's surrounded by politicians. You understand? Johnny Yengen is a seasoned politician.
Sure.
Jacob Zuma is a master tactician of politics. And to have those people around you, and then, but I would sit and think that he had Des Van Royen on his side. That's why he appointed Des. So it's a very dirty game.
But the reports are that Dr. Hlophe unilaterally ousted Makubele.
Yes, that's what the reports are saying.
And that she was just removed from the Parliamentary Caucus WhatsApp group. And JZ is back and she's been reinstated.
Yes.
And Hlophe is out now.
Yes, Hlophe is on suspension.
But what happened to... Can we discuss these things, not in public? Can we meet as a family, discuss these things?
These are leaders of the official opposition party in the Republic.
Yeah.
They are all seasoned in their field of work. And the organization is still new, just over 2 years. And it has been having leadership challenges. You remember the case of the lady from the Mpumalanga, those who left with Floyd to form Maibwe Africa. There's been challenges of, remember also Makubela herself, she was put in there when Zwanele Manyi was removed, and there were talks at some stage of Duduzile Zuma as well as the spokesperson Nhlamulo of Umkhonto and not working very well and treating Makubela. So there's a lot of leadership skirmishes happening there. They should have handled this in closed doors.
Sure.
I mean, Dr. Hlophe and President Zuma, I don't think there's any bad blood between them. To get into a room and say, hey, what is going on here? Can we handle this? Let's reverse this in a better way, or let's keep it for Nakonyana, or ask Des Van Royen to say, I would have handled it diplomatically. I would have said, Des, excuse yourself. Don't fire. Don't suspend.
Sure.
Excuse yourself to say, no, you are not ready for this. Do it as if it's him rejecting the post.
Sure.
Don't suspend Hlophe and bring back. Now you are actually undermining the capabilities of Dr. Hlophe that you have put there to can take care of what we call government business or parliamentary business. And I think that's where the challenge is.
When you look at the MKP journey and the musical chairs that happens within leadership, and people being parachuted in when the people who've been in the ranks long.
Yes.
Almost it's a one-man show feeling from the outside. Obviously, perceptions are everything.
Mm-hmm.
This instability, if you will, in inverted commas, surely it's not good for an electorate that are looking for alternatives, that are looking for someone outside of what we know already.
Yeah.
Surely it's not a good look.
Look, it's not a good look. And I'll tell you why. You mentioned an important part, the alternative. People looking for the alternative.
Yes.
And whether we like it or not, people will still think which ones are black parties, which ones are white parties, which ones are center.
Sure.
Parties like the Action SA, they are being seen as the center parties. Then you have controversies and EFF on the other side and others. However, the bad part of it is that they were the closest best alternative to the African National Congress. First by policy, two by popularity. And that's why they managed in less than a year to amass so much votes. But instead of us hearing the good they are doing, the papers they are tabling in Parliament, such reports, the growing of the branches, they are actually most on the news for internal squabbles. And there was actually a stage where some of the members were complaining about people being parachuted and who are coming from outside. We have seen it happening a lot. We have seen people flocking from the EFF and the ANC and they occupy strategic positions.
Yes.
One of the people that left the ANC to form the EFF, left the EFF and joined UDM, and now is with controversy. It's Dr. Litfield Chabalala. Understand? So there is that unsettlement and uncertainty and people not being happy to say we have worked the ground.
Yes.
Well, some people I know they sacrifice their careers and all that. However, let's flip the coin. Controversy says we operate in a central democratic centralism. We operate in a military style. It's the command and control. We don't operate in a democracy like other political parties.
And we don't have to.
And we don't have to.
Yeah. We
are not going to go into an elective conference because we are afraid of infiltration. And these people, another explanation that comes out of controversies, and as I've talked to a few of their leaders, they were saying these people that you media people and analysts are claiming to be parachuted, who are coming from other political, we had planted them there.
Yes.
Zuma had left people in the ANC to say, be my ears and eyes here while I'm running with this thing. When time is ripe, I'll call you all back. Nothing says to me I should not believe that statement.
Sure.
Because that's what happened.
Yes.
If you look at the advocate Mkwebane, Mzwanele Manyis, and many others that exodus from the ANC and joining EFF. Suddenly, when it was time to move, they even brought the Floyd Shivambos and advocate. I spoke about him earlier on Dalimpofu.
Yes.
He came back. The same thing happened. It's happening with those who were left in the ANC. So it could be their strategy, but I want to agree with you, Fresh, when you say it does not go down well with the ordinary voter or potential voter. It may be a strategy that people are not used to or people are uncomfortable with because, no normal seasoned person wants to be in an unstable organization. People are starting to call them that, no, it's a circus.
Yes.
If your strategy has risks of backfiring, then it's a problem. And it must stop at some stage. At some stage, controversies must stop changing leadership and moving them around and all that. It's not like it's a fair game. Politics are not fair. Don't try and be fair. Say, give another child a chance. It doesn't work like that in politics. And I think they must stabilize the organization if they want to see themselves being a bigger party in the next election. And to destabilize it now, when we are exactly a year, if not 11 months, towards the local government election, it will backfire. They may have a problem with that.
Absolutely. Let's go to Ntate Brian Mogotsi, who allegedly survived an alleged assassination attempt. A tiny little car was found shot up, and now people are debating whether there was an assassination attempt or not.
Yes.
What do you think? Before you answer, what do you think? Let's go through the.
I don't think there was an assassination attempt.
Okay.
Nothing convinces me that. Look, after looking at the facts, which I may elaborate on, and what has been said, and one witness who came out and said a story, a lady who said he was in his house when this car was driving and suddenly had a halt. I actually asked myself, how did this lady know that this car was driving and suddenly had a halt? And one friend said, no, but maybe she was sitting and he was looking outside. And when the bullets started, being fired, she peeped and she looked. But the story of Mr. Mogotsi does not make sense and does not add up for me. First of all, this happens in a car. When I looked at that vehicle, having have worked for transport, sometimes even when I pass people's cars, you remember I even did it with your car, like, hey, your disc has expired. I don't know, it just became my thing. And I think it was caused by the fact that when I was married, my wife never remembered to pay the disc, so I had to go and cut that. I check when I see cars, I check discs, and the first thing I saw with Brian Mogotsi's vehicle, in inverted commas, a rich, flamboyant businessman driving that car. Nothing wrong with driving a small car, but it looks like a scrap car. It didn't have a disc. The tires looked like they were taken out of a scrap metal place. And that's one element. So that didn't make sense for me. Two, his explanation. Now, that is his to the police or at the scene in Vosloorus police station or when he was there. He said, as he was driving on the N3, the N3 is the highway next to Vosloorus that goes to KZN. A bike or a white small van was following him and they started shooting at him. And he took an off-ramp and he abandoned the car and ran into the bushes and some family received him. But he goes further and say that van made a U-turn and drove back to where he abandoned the car and they started shooting at the car. That doesn't make sense. That Hollywood script of Netflix doesn't make sense to me. If I want to shoot a person, you don't shoot an empty vehicle. And if they are shooting at me, let me be Mr. Mogotsi, and I manage to stop the car and run away without being hit, do you still have time to look and say the car turned and you were standing there looking? You didn't think they will come and...
You run for your life.
You run for your life. And I had time to look. Now the witness of a house nearby says... This man jumped out of the car. After he stopped, he pulled out a gun and he started shooting at his own vehicle.
Yeah.
And like I said to you during the week at the radio station, I saw the police videos and media videos. Two of those bullets went into the body or the back of the driver's seat. So if there was a passenger there, the person should have died or be seriously injured. But maybe those were the bullets that went in when they were shooting an empty car. Understand? So there's a lot. And then the next thing, he didn't want to give the statement to the police, which is well within his right not to do so. However, if there was a discharge of a firearm in a public place and you are a witness to it, the police or the law doesn't say open a case of attempted murder if you don't want to. But the police can question you to say what happened because... Yes. There was a discharge of firearm in a public place. Some of those bullets may have caught up with an innocent, as a stray bullet, an innocent victim around. So you can't refuse not to give a statement. But you know what happened on Monday, because Mr. Mogotsi has been in the news a lot regarding the Madlanga Commission, the investigation of. He has been a middleman. He was a middle person. Allegedly between Ket Matlala and the ministers
Kunu, yes.
Yes. So he's a person of interest. That's what they will call you. You understand? In this whole process of Madlanga Commission. And he himself went into the media many times to say, I'm volunteering to go there. Now, on Monday, I've learned the South African Police Services secured a court search and seizure a warrant to go and search his premises, his house, and to confiscate his telephones and check what is on his phones and electronics. That was on Monday. And on Tuesday, there's this alleged assassination. And then he disappears. He said to the police, I'll come and give you a full statement 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning is nowhere to be found.
Sure.
The police now they were looking for the alleged victim. Now the police are looking for you instead of you looking for the police to help. And he didn't want to go and give the statement until the police hunted him because of that warrant, and they got hold of him to get the statement.
But Akere, they've been wanting these electronics.
Yes.
Surely by now, whatever might have been on there would be sanitized. So it doesn't matter anymore.
There may be two reasons why they are looking for them.
Unless you're able to use spyware to retrieve all deleted stuff.
Yes, that's what the police will use. They're going to use spyware. But also remember, according to the testimonies that we have already heard at the Madlanga Commission, some of the information or communication between the alleged masterminds and criminals, the police already have it.
Sure.
Now, what they need to do, and this is my thinking, they need to get the gadgets to link them to the information they already have. So even if you wipe them and you delete them, but they will be able to say, this message was transmitted from a SIM card that at some stage it was in this apparel, or this message was transmitted from a tower that links this phone or this laptop. Because I learned actually that's why police, when they arrest people who send messages from internet cafes, they will always tell you where was the person, which internet cafe was used. I'm not an IT person, but I've heard such reports coming out a lot.
I think also people don't understand that a burner phone is exactly that. It's one phone, one SIM card, one you use, throw it away.
Yes.
People think if you change SIM cards, you're covering your trail. But,
why are you giving criminals ideas?
I'm not giving them ideas because criminals don't have time to watch this show. But like I'm saying, and I think we will always count on the stupidity and the naivety of criminal-minded people to leave a trail.
They always leave a trail of one thing or the other. So I think the police are onto something. And look at what they went for him and they got a court gag when he said, I'm not going to that Madlanga Commission anymore. Why do you volunteer? The next thing you said, you are not going. Yet you have been giving so many radio, TV, print media interviews about your involvement. There's no way the South African police or the commission was not going to subpoena Mr. Mogotsi to come to testify at the commission or the ad hoc committee. There is just no way. He played a major role in this whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And let's finalize it with Madlanga and Ad Hoc testimonies. Yes. What's this week held for us?
Well, this week at the ad hoc committee, they called the two deputy ministers of the police. The last one was Bushielo. The first one, what is his name? Matale, the former premier of
Castles
Matale, the two deputy ministers. There was nothing much that came out of the deputy ministers. For one reason, that they said it's more than a year they're sitting there, and then Mr. Mtsumi had not yet allocated roles for them.
Yes.
And again, fresh. It makes me question, why would the minister not allocate roles to the two deputy ministers? First of all, the fact that the government said South African Police Service needs two deputy ministers, it means the workload it requires two. And a year past, you are in office, and we had elections May last year. Government was formed around June, July last year. We are already in November 2025, and we have two deputy ministers without job allocations. And even them sitting there, not being allocated work, I must be careful not to say they didn't have anything to do. But job allocation defined with targets, and that could be measured. You don't have it. You wake up, what do you do every day in the office, Mr. Deputy or Miss Deputy Minister? And they kept quiet about it. And again, you know what it says to me? Why did Minister Mtsumi want to operate alone when you have two deputies?
Absolutely.
And I said, that's why there's allegations today that actually the deputies were criminals. Because the deputies, the official deputies, were doing nothing, or they were not allocated work. Who was making or helping the minister to make decisions when he is not using his two deputies?
Absolutely.
But their testimony was more on administrative. And then the last one in the ad hoc committee this week was the current acting minister Kashalia, who has come, he got the social media moving with him. You know, Professor Kashalia is a professor of constitutional law, and he went to parliament to lecture.
But una
MPs.
lebu arrogant nyana jamnandas.
He's cheeky. He's very cheeky.
Unale, I know more than you.
Yeah, that's the way. I know more than you.
Una lebu jamnanda yana.
Yeah. So is that not a derogation? Don't get us into trouble.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I heard jamnandas is a person.
Oh yeah. I forgot now. Yeah, he has that element in him.
Yeah.
I mean, you are there. You are supposed to answer questions, and I don't say people must be like children. Yes, say no, say no. I'm saying you are supposed to answer questions, and you give a lecture on how MPs are focused are neglecting to focus on Section 106 or 107 of the Constitution that gives the minister powers. But what about other sections of the Constitution that says, minister, you can't do this, or when you want to exercise your powers, you must consult. You can't ignore that. And I think his hostility towards the generals in the police is going to either get him into trouble, or it's going to make the police to revolt against him, like they did with Minister Mkunu. And he spoke as if he wants to defend Minister Mkunu, and he still insists that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi should have handled that press conference differently. But I asked the question, how differently? What could he have done when actually the reason why we are or where we are at the moment is exactly because of that press conference?
Sure.
And evidence that is coming out of the Madlanga Commission and the Ad Hoc Committee, it's showing us actually that the generals, they were frustrated. One was locked up with covered charges. Another one, they wanted to close the what do you call it, a PKK, the police, the political killing task team.
Yes.
Which something evident came out this week. That's very important. And that it only became to be called a national political kingdom under Minister Mkunu.
Ah, yes.
When it was something, it was never national, it was the provincial. It was the KwaZulu-Natal political task killing task team that was called in to come and aid Gauteng, and that's where they discovered, when they were coming to aid Gauteng on political killings, that's where they discovered that, man, this thing is not just political killings. There's drug cartels, there's robberies, there's police informants involved, there's policemen involved, and there was much more. I'm differing with Professor Kashalia. The way Lieutenant Mkhwanazi did this thing was the only option he had.
Yes.
To can do this, and I think it has taken the country a step forward. Because it has exposed this whole rot. Whether it was done rightly in offices and suit and ties, or it was done with chemo, it's immaterial for me. You know, how the information and the truth comes before us, it's very important.
Yes, sir.
And I think Mr. Kashalia must not forget, or Professor Kashalia must not forget, that he has this job as a minister exactly due to that press conference. If it wasn't of that 6th July press conference, he wouldn't be the Minister of Police at the moment.
And how do we know things might not have been swept under the carpet?
Yes.
Or people transferred, or people redeployed.
Or dockets disappearing and all that. We would have not known that.
Sure.
So thumbs up to the brave policemen and women who were brave, who stood up for the nation, under the code of conduct of South African Police Service. Friends, at times when you deal with rogue people, you will end up being rogue.
Sure.
And what is happening at the Madlanga Commission, or evidence that's coming out there, it shows that these police people have been faced by very rogue people. Some, it's their members.
Sure.
And as the members of the police service doing work for alleged criminals, working with alleged criminals. And that's rogue. Because you are doing your job, you are creating dockets, you are investigating Haibo. A policeman steals this docket, they have brown envelopes with a prosecutor and an alleged magistrate. That's very rogue in dealing with that, because then the police are being seen as not doing their job.
Sure.
And it's coming out clear that the police have been doing their job, some have been dragging them backwards.
We are out of time.
Yes, sir.
But let's stop in New York quickly. They've got a brand new mayor, still has that new mayor smell. A Muslim immigrant mayor, a Democratic Socialist, and someone we can also claim
Our son.
that he passed through Cape Town as a baby.
Yes.
With his parents, and that his foundation and basic education is our fault.
Yes.
That was right.
Why do you call it a fault?
No.
It's our good work.
That's my point. That we must take credit.
Yes.
That his foundation in South Africa and Cape Town is what's made him the great man that he is.
Yeah.
Although many would argue, because unfortunately, Roy Gafar has been a thing for the last 60, 70 years, and that propaganda has never not caught fire.
Yeah.
So already you're having people in New York saying a communist is taking over.
Yeah.
Already you're even having South Africans saying, good luck to New York with the communist mayor.
Communist mayor.
Because to the uninitiated, communism and socialism are the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Forgetting that there's, the democratic countries that are socialist. If you go to Scandinavia, that democracy is about the people. It's about, does everyone have access to good health care,
Yes.
to good education, to good security? And those that want to spend additional money getting extra security, private education, private health care, it should not be because we're not looking after the general population. And I'd like to think that Mayor Mamdani is about that.
There's nothing.
He's not saying screw capitalism.
No.
He's just saying we need to look after everyone.
Actually, there are many countries. You mentioned Scandinavia. Germany itself is a democratic, socialist country.
Yes.
For many years, Germans with an aging population survived, not because they were a rich country, but because they had developed a very good social system to
Yes.
take care of the elderly and education, and they are a well-educated nation. So there's nothing wrong with democratic socialism. And for God's sake, guys, socialism is not communism.
Yes.
They may be having relations here and there, but it is not. So the new mayor or the mayor-elect of New York, he said it clear in 3 words. I liked when he said, President Trump, I hope you are listening. Put the volume up so that you hear me properly. I am an immigrant. I am a Muslim.
Sure.
And I'm a democratic a socialist, and I am not ashamed of saying those things. Don't look at me and stop saying to people I'm a terrorist.
Sure.
And I'm a Muslim. Therefore, I'm going to oppress Christians in New York. And watch us after 4 years. Where would I put this city? And that for me was very bold. But it has been his election campaign. He has been working with the people on the ground. To receive over 1 million votes in New York City, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And my only fear is, I think the central government or the federal government in the USA, they're going to squeeze him.
No,
and,
but
and the city when it comes to finances.
yeah, but also you need to remember that because Trump is petty. Even if you look at the way he's been deploying the National Guard into especially Democrat strongholds,
yes.
when statistically a lot of the crime that Trump hides behind is happening in his states,
Yes.
in Republican strongholds.
Strongholds, yes.
So I think it's just a matter of time before the National Guard are in New York
In New York.
to fight crime.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I think it's going to start with the pace, because remember, it's almost 60 days now
Yes.
since the central government locked the money, and apparently it's affecting people's health insurance and the economy and all that. He doesn't care, and that's one element. The second element is, I just hope the American community or the whatever New York City police, whoever is responsible for his security, they should up his security. He must remember he's a mayor now. He should not go and behave like he's campaigning to be the mayor. He's in office. He'll be inaugurated in the next 57, 58 days.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. And two things happened actually. Then Israel immediately announced, after the votes were confirmed, and his speech immediately announced that they may be closing their consulate in New York City.
I think they must do it then. The problem is because New York has a very strong Jewish community.
Yeah.
But the Zionists are going to want to mobilize them against someone who's just saying, let's be fair here. Because Mamdani has been very, very, very clear about I want to go to synagogues and find out what the Jewish community want.
Yes.
But also want to find out what the Muslim community want, what the Christians want. I want to find out what New Yorkers want, such that New York is an inclusive city where everyone is taken care of.
It should not matter your background, where you come from, or your religious status.
Sure.
It should be you are a resident of New York City, and we are all entitled to the same benefits. And that's what won him the votes, by the way, because he didn't discriminate. He said, I'm a proud Muslim, but I'm not going to do things and do them only for the Muslim community or Asian immigrants. I don't know actually, where does he originate from?
He was born and raised, I think he was born in Uganda, or was he, I think Ugandan parents.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Oh, okay. So those are some of the things. But in the middle of all this, guess what happens? Breaking news. We didn't even, I forgot to put it there. FIFA president announced that they are going to be inaugurating a FIFA peacemaker, just like the Nobel laureate prize. FIFA is inaugurated for the first time. Guess what I'm suspecting, Fresh?
Who, Trump?
I think they're creating this for Trump. And they say it will be launched in Washington when they launch the rollout. You know, before the FIFA World Cup, there's that event.
Yes.
I think FIFA wants to compensate Trump with this.
But I think it would be a double standard from FIFA, because FIFA are the very same people who say politics and soccer should not mix, and that governments should not interfere. The fact that Trump has threatened to
suppress,
to cancel certain cities being hosts of the World Cup, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's interference, and FIFA often say they're against that.
And why is FIFA talking about peacemaking when they say they don't want politics in this? When we brought and suggested that FIFA must ban Israel, from like they did with Russia and other sporting codes did with Russia and sanction it, why would they want to enter into the politics of who is the politician or the leader in the world? Because they didn't say politicians, I must correct that. A leader of the world who has fought for peace. Why would FIFA want to get involved in it? Because they are dragging peace. Peace, it comes from politics and wars and occupation.
And soccer players generally widely appeal to more people than any politician ever will.
Exactly.
So why don't you have goodwill ambassadors from different soccer teams or different soccer countries?
Yes. And that's what they should be investing money on. And I think they just want to appease Trump. But it will be very wrong. Look, this is my thinking. It may not happen, but it will be very wrong. Actually, FIFA was not supposed to have this whole thing. They were supposed to do campaigns that will fight. They've got problems with racism in FIFA. How many
but they've nothing,
black players have been humiliated
called
in
monkeys,
Europe, being called monkeys and all those things. Those are the campaigns that FIFA is supposed to be embarking on instead of a Nobel Prize piece for peace sake. No.
Yeah, they claim they're anti-racist, but they're not anti-genocide. It's clearly.
And not a racist genocide, because the genocide that is actually happening in Gaza, it's based on race.
Sure.
Nothing else. If it was any other color that's sitting there, not brown people, there would have been no genocide there.
We're a different story.
Exactly.
We're out of time, sir. Where do we find you on social media?
Much Fresh. You can find me, guys and ladies, on botsangm@gmail.com. or on social media handles @BotsangM, and on WhatsApp it's 083-884-7787.
And that is all she wrote. We are done with this episode of Wow What a Week, #Politricks with Fresh and Botsang. Thank you for being a part of it. Please keep the conversation going in the comments section. If you want to clip some of the comments and share with your friends, your family, your groups, your politics groups, by all means do that, as long as we keep the conversation going. Coming to you from Discover TV, let them be your stage for whatever it is you want to do. Shout out to Trevor and the team at Pezulu Works for the cinematography, and Keletso Modisakeng, our executive producer. Until next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves. We're out of here.